Story RH, the podcast that makes a long story short.
Welcome to all.
History is made of stories.
In this episode, we will see that learning is a prerequisite for a cohesive society.
What's the point of learning? I'm done with school. No more tests. No more degrees, no more studying. Enough is enough, if it's just more sitting behind a desk listening to some self-proclaimed expert spew nonsense. I'd rather be on my sofa.
We could have couched this episode in trendy terms, but we haven't. We'll be talking about learning, in fact, about our responsibility to learn, even after school. So, learning, an individual responsibility for a cohesive society. What's the story?
Learning is a process that should be endless. Learning to learn is a meta skill that includes things like knowing how to read and write, for example, but also attitudes like curiosity, critical thinking, and a willingness to ask questions.
Really, we need to cultivate a culture of learning if we want to support the ability to learn.
School helps us along the way by passing on the desire to learn and giving us the keys to reading, as well as resources, methods, and more. That's the role of teachers and trainers, as well as mentors and all the other people in our lives who have the desire to pass on skills and information.
What's complicated is that no one else can learn in your place. There are settings that are more favorable than others, different methods for learning, useful resources, etc. But if I don't want to learn, I won't. The attitudes necessary for learning are individual: curiosity, desire, doubt, questions. A quest for the truth, you get the idea.
That's why it's an individual responsibility. No one can be responsible for your learning. Each of us has to try to grow, and so to learn, and we have opportunities to do so every day.
The first challenge to overcome is time. The time we're willing to spend, our willingness to access free online resources, for example, or engage in fruitful conversations, exchanges that give us access to other people's knowledge.
Knowledge is all around us, as well as in our pockets, at the tip of our fingers. That's one of the positive consequences of the digital age. It's up to us to use it well. It's a bit like at a cocktail party. The hors d'oeuvres keep going round the room for you to partake, but no one will put them in your mouth for you.
We're not saying it's simple though. You have to make an effort. First, you have to be humble. You have to accept that you know nothing, as Socrates said. We're so sure we know. So you have to be willing to deconstruct your own system of meaning and representation.
And that's uncomfortable, if I have to question everything all the time and make the effort to find new answers, which will themselves be pulled into question. It's exhausting. No one wants to be Sisyphus.
But this discomfort is necessary on two levels. First, on a personal level, what do I get out of learning?
What do you get? You'll be less of an idiot.
In all seriousness though, a better understanding of the world and the things around you. Learning is how we grow and improve ourselves. In a society where everyone is always looking for meaning, learning is the only way to find it.
But what can you say to those who argue it's not worth it?
We could stop there. Like we said, learning is an individual responsibility. But there's another argument: employability.
It's a more prosaic reason than spiritual elevation, but it's also more concrete. According to the World Economic Forum, active learning is a soft skill which will be absolutely necessary by 2025.
Learning is about reading the real world and constantly renovating your systems of representation. This is key in a job market where professions are constantly changing. Our ability to adapt and develop new skills is a major competitive advantage.
And learning is definitely one of the fundamental conditions for adaptability.
And that's the second level, the collective level.
It's every citizen's duty to learn as a member of society. The world is changing, and we have to change with it. We have to be lucid about what's happening.
The first step to achieving lucidity, as an optimist who looks reality in the face, is the ability to learn, to move forward, to be a part of what's happening around us. If only as a consumer and voter, we have to learn.
Each of us has to progress for society to move in the right direction.
As a citizen's duty, learning is a prerequisite for us to move forward together. Learning pushes us to build a cohesive society without segregating into groups that exacerbate our individualities. It pushes us to recognize what unites us all, what makes us human, our ability to think.
Learning is about opening yourself up to others in the world. It's about accepting them into your way of thinking. It's a founding principle of civilization.
To recap, learning requires us to face discomfort and demands effort, but it's absolutely necessary, both at the individual level, to find meaning for our lives and improve our employability, and at the collective level, to form a cohesive society. It is a critical part of what makes us human. Is that right?
Exactly right. Way to make a long story short. Story RH, the podcast that makes a long story short.